program. This action takes place as the incoming Trump administration is set to begin on January the 20th. During his first term, President-elect Donald Trump sought to terminate protected status visa for countries such as El Salvador and Haiti, among others, through a series of executive orders. However, the subsequent Biden administration chose not to move forward with these terminations. There are concerns about President-elect Trump, who has continued to express intention to revoke this status for certain holders in his second term before the November election. Mr. Trump focused his campaign on a massive deportation of immigrants, and since emerging as president-elect, he has made several appointments to carry out his plans for massive deportation of illegal immigrants from the U.S. Now, for more years to go, and his countdown to the inauguration of Donald Trump as President of the United States, joining me on the ward now is the Chief Executive Officer of Vesti, Olusola Musho. He joins us from Dallas in the United States to speak more on the immigration plans of President Trump. Good to have you join us.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
All right, so let me just start by saying that the incoming president has pledged to make massive changes to immigration policy in the U.S. We know that Donald Trump's rhetoric around immigration has been very harsh, sometimes quite demeaning as well. What is likely to be, or what should we likely expect from his administration, and who are those likely to be affected by his proposed changes?
Let me start by saying that, for all of the indications that we've seen, and as an organization that plays within this space, we have seen that the focus for the incoming Trump administration has been on clamping down on illegal immigration as much as possible. So there is a massive commitment, prospective massive commitment on clamping down on those who have entered the United States legally without record, either by foot borders and so on and so forth, land borders and so on and so forth, that were not processed into the country. And also deportation of those who have either overstayed, or essentially have been on a status that is, that has lapsed. It is not clear just yet how all of this will be executed, but we can also see that there is a very strong, vehement debate on skilled immigration, and that there might be concerns around placing caps on certain immigration categories. But what we know as of today is that the U.S. strongly depends on foreign workers to continue to drive its economy. So as long as folks are legal and have come into the country the right way, essentially this group is not necessarily going to be affected. There is a strong advocacy for H-1B visas, strong advocacy for student visas converting to green cards, because these people have become researchers. They've become some of the greatest contributors to the United States economy.
You say that he focuses more on illegal migrants, which, and you're right, we've seen him escalate them even during the campaign, but we've also seen a ban on some kind of visas for certain countries in its first tenure. But I will get to that shortly. I wanted us to talk about deportations and policies surrounding immigrants and refugees, especially Africans. As I was reading the intro as to the extension of protection for those from El Salvador, Ukraine, and I'm wondering, is this something he could undo, and what would this mean for Africans who are looking to travel, during his tenure?
The interesting thing is, for those who are already in the United States, similar to what you're seeing with the extension of the TPS over El Salvador, there are global principles that guide immigration and protect refugees, especially conventions of the United Nations that every president must go by. It is left to be seen whether or not, the strength and the sometimes executive power of a president like President Trump and previous bans he has done would be repeated in this particular tenure. But you can see that there are certain things like the TPS that have to go through Congress, that have to go through sometimes the decision of the president, to make it happen. So for those who are already in, there will be debates left and right. Most of those, even if there was like a deportation call, some of that may be contested, and will still be on for another 6 months, another 1 year, until perhaps the whole thing cools down. However, when some of those pronouncements are made from the United States, it definitely could affect Africans who are trying to come into the United States. So I have seen that in the first tenure where even airline companies and other organizations, because of the lack of guidance on whether they could airlift passengers, would literally make a halt in that particular period. And that's why everybody is anticipating what happens on January 20th, beg your pardon, and of course on the subsequent days after that. One thing we're sure of, though, is this is a country that is about a $30 trillion economy, a very strong capitalist economy. This is a capitalist president coming in. So there won't be irrational things done on economic visitors or folks that need to contribute to the economy. We must, however, think about like some of the concerns around the humanitarian impact of some of this around countries like Mexico, El Salvador, and some other North American territories.
Absolutely. An incoming capitalist president who is very transactional and in his approach to policies, what is the need for America is perhaps his biggest question to ask. But in the light of that, what's your take on the H-1B visas and then also the granting of green cards in the light of Donald Trump expressing support for a variety of limits on even legal immigration?
Well, as an experienced consultant within the field and with the fact that our organization drives the advocacy around H-1B workers, the U.S. needs about 85,000 of those every single year, and the president-elect himself has talked about H-1B workers working in his own property and in his own organizations as well. So we kind of feel very strongly that he is favoring H-1B as a policy at this time and as a program at this time. And of course, his very darling Elon Musk as well has spoken positively about the H-1B visa. So we don't see the H-1B visa going anywhere at this time. We actually do feel like there might be even cap increases as a result of the fact that this is one of the main ways the U.S. powers major corporations like Microsoft, Google, Tata, Walmart, and several other organizations, including small companies like startups and research organizations. So for now, we are strongly saying that those who must get into the H-1B visa lottery for the year 2026 fiscal, which is the 2025 calendar year, should get on it as quickly as possible, and we're waiting for guidance on when that opens.
One can only imagine the immigrant community on the edge of their seats as it takes office, especially for the Haitians who he escalated during his campaigns. Thank you so much for your time. The CEO of Vesti, Olushola Musho.
My pleasure.
We're staying in the U.S. where investigators